following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin.
Hey everybody, I'm Christine, and this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. Welcome back again this week. We are without Jada still. She is still taking her business classes, and hopefully she'll be back soon. So today I have a very exciting guest coming all the way from Europe. He is, I believe, in England. We will find out exactly where. But today we are talking about what is Circology. So it is a new perspective on compatibility. And we just talked about chemistry versus compatibility last week. So this is a great bouncing board for what we're talking about today. So today, Andrea is joining us. He is an innovative dating coach with a revolutionary approach to dating, having seamlessly transitioned from a career in architecture to transforming the modern dating landscape with his compatibility dating tool. His unique perspective, shaped by personal challenges and creating mindset, offers a fresh take on finding love and understanding relationship dynamics. So today we have Andrea, and he is going to tell us all about his new dating compatibility app called the Circus Question. So let's welcome Andrea. Hello.
Hi from London, UK. Hello,
London.
Christine.
Yeah, I knew
How
it
you
was
doing?
England.
Yeah,
Very
well,
good. Thank you.
you got it right. It's midnight
Yay!
here, so yeah.
I know. Look at you.
We've got the lights on indoors and it's dark outside, so what can I say?
Well, you look all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Thank you for being up with us.
That's great. No problem at all. Most of my
I
clients
love
are
it.
American, so yeah, I'm used to it.
Well, you know, us Americans are needing all the help we can get right now.
Definitely, everyone does.
Yeah, right. We're in the bells of a shit show right now. So, welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. We are really thrilled to have you today. So let's start with what is this app, and how did you get to this app?
Okay, it was a personal journey that led me to the app, or led me to the Circus Question, which was an opener on dating sites. The dreaded word, dating sites. I became single in my late 40s after a long relationship, and there I was looking at dating again. 13-year relationship. So there I was looking for a relationship on dating sites. Didn't know what I was doing. And it was the early days of Tinder and Hinge and all the apps, really.
Right.
And so I gave them all a go and found it quite frustrating because, like, you know, you couldn't make connections. You could see pictures, you could like someone, you maybe got a like back, a match, and then you start the conversation, and it usually led to nowhere.
Right.
Usually the people you liked didn't write back, and the people you didn't like did. And
Yeah.
even the ones you did like, you started talking hours, days later, you then found you weren't compatible. So I thought,
Right.
God, this is so difficult. Not difficult, but I was quantity, you know, not quality.
It is
So I
difficult.
thought, what can I do? The age-old question, what can I do to find the love of my life? And find somebody I can date who I'm going to enjoy their company with.
Right.
So I found myself rethinking the whole strategy, which is what I teach my clients now. And
I love this.
the Circus Question developed, and it became an opener. Instead of just saying hi, you know, you look nice or whatever, I'd say, hi, love your profile, maybe picked a picture or something, is that Italy behind you? Or, I like your comment about something. And I'd really like to know your answer to this question. I'm really curious. And I will tell you my answer afterwards. And then I'd hit them with the question. And that was it.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you the question, and I'd love the listeners and viewers to participate.
I love this.
And you can see underneath my name there, the Circus Question Passion.io. That's the link to the freemiums part of the app. Okay.
Right. So just so the listeners know, Andrea has an app that he is developing, and it is almost there. They're still in the testing phase. And right now, while all the listeners are listening, you are welcome to go to a web browser. And in the web browser, you're going to put in the circus question .passion.io. So that is going to get you to the web browser, and Andrea and I are going to go through some things with it today. So you can follow along, you can play along, and this should be fun.
Exactly. So I'll give them a minute to type that in if they want. So, so give them a couple of minutes. So basically there I was testing this question out, and instead of getting like 10 replies a week, I was getting hundreds. I mean,
Really?
literally hundreds. And most of them were curious. What a great opener. And they answered the question. Now, obviously, I'm not saying I'm cute or anything, but it was more the question, I think, than anything. No, but, I wasn't getting any replies before. So come on, cuteness doesn't count, does it?
No.
What it was it was interesting, the transition.
Mm-hmm.
But what was really interesting was the engagement. That people were like, wow, this is different. And they gave me an answer. And from that answer, I started to learn to identify whether I was compatible or not with them. Anyway, so I think people have had a chance to type that in. When you get to that page, you'll probably get to the landing page, which is a girl with 2 hearts over her eyes, and it says, "Don't date blind." At the bottom of that section, it says, "Discovery, question, blah, blah, blah." Hit the question button.
This is what I got.
Yeah, that's what you'll get.
Yep. There it is.
And that's what you'll get. Yeah. So let's get into the question.
All
now
right.
Everyone's got the app, because they can basically then find out what I'm going to tell you. So Christine.
Yes.
And Rebel and anyone else listening, I want you to take a deep breath for me.
A deep breath. Here we go.
Let's ground ourselves. So deep breath. So just think about my voice. Okay. Take another deep breath. Close your eyes. Exhale. Christine.
All right. Yes.
Imagine you're at a circus.
Okay.
Imagine the lights, the sounds, the smells, the fun, the laughter, the thrills, and suspense. Now close your eyes and imagine, if you want, for a moment, if you were one of the acts or performers, which act or performer would you be? And why? And if you're at home and you want to write this down, write down what you see and what you're doing and why. So I'm going to write yours down, Christine.
Okay. I'm ready. Anytime you are.
Okay. Hit me with it.
I'm the ringleader.
Well, I had a feeling you would say that.
Well, at first, I kind of got a flash of elephants and thinking, oh, how exciting would it be to work with the elephants? And then I saw myself on a tightrope with a cute tutu all up in the air.
Okay.
But then I thought, you know what? None of those really appeal to me as much as being the ringleader. and being able to participate with all the acts and draw the people in. And, well, let's just be honest, be in control.
You've just summarized exactly what your ideal role would be in a relationship. Being in control. Okay, enough just summarize that. But if you go to the app now, and the listeners can view their own version of whatever they've chosen. And I will find Ringmaster first, or Ring Mistress. So if you go to the section where it says scroll up and you see A to Z templates.
See it.
Hit that.
Okay. All righty, here we go.
And it will load and it will say start, and hit that.
It's loading.
And then you've got an A to Z. And scroll up. Find yourself Ringmaster.
Here we go. And
Ringmaster.
Nope.
Did you find it?
Horse rider. I want to be a horse rider too.
It's not what you want to be. We want unconscious selection here. We want your unconscious mind. I watched an episode of is it Rihanna?
What is it?
You had a guest on, Rihanna. Was it Rihanna?
Okay. Oh, Rihanna.
She was talking about unconscious selection. Very important. This is what we're talking about here. Unconscious selection for compatibility. So anyway, this is the fun part, but there's a quite serious part coming up. So you've hit Ringmaster, Ring Mistress, yeah?
Yep.
And you've submit that. And then you've got a list of traits, positive and negative. Okay, I'm going to read a few of these. Your positive traits in a healthy relationship. So in a healthy relationship, this is what you bring to the table, these positive traits. And of course, you're charismatic, magnetic, image conscious. I've got a slightly different version because I've got the professional version that I
love it.
Matchmakers and coaches with. I'm offering a certification program in this. So
nice.
This is the pro version.
Okay.
I can give you that later. But it's more advanced, there's more detail, and there's a lot more assessment going on. But anyway, in your version, it's quite similar. You've got diplomatic, tactful, authoritative, confident, supportive, encouraging, communicative, clear, organized, efficient. And those are your positive traits that you bring to a relationship.
Okay.
Your negative traits are there underneath the surface. And when you're in a toxic relationship or an unhealthy one, this is what comes out. So we don't want those. And I'm sure you can see all of those and think, oh my God, are those true to you?
I know that I see a lot of these that are the controlling, overbearing, self-focused. Those are when I'm with a man who is not as strong as me.
Exactly.
When I have a man who is more masculine, well, he can even be in his feminine, but if he is still got a strong authoritative situation with me, then those things do not come out.
Exactly. So we don't want those. Are you single?
Yeah.
Okay. So in a dating situation, you want somebody that matches your ringmaster. Okay. So you're now ring mistress, ringmaster, ringleader, whichever tag it is, masculine or feminine, it doesn't matter. This is gender neutral, by the way. You could be a woman or a man dealing with this. You could be gay, lesbian, any kind of sex whatsoever. It doesn't matter. What you're identifying is your role. When you identify your role, know thyself, you can then apply it to your perfect partner. Okay, so let's just finish with you first. If you scroll up, you've got your love language.
Yep.
Now your primary, being a ringmaster, is words of affirmation. Your primary. Now, listen, whatever Gary Chapman says, I believe it's a spectrum. And I believe you can have more than one primary.
Yeah, I do too.
I know that words of affirmation are great for me. I'm a ringmaster, by the way. Okay.
Right.
But I also like physical touch. I'm really big on physical touch.
I think that's me
I like
too.
to be close to my partner. And that's not just sexually.
Right.
I'm touchy-feely. Just me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then we've got your attachment styles. You're definitely secure, but in a toxic, unhealthy relationship, you become anxious, preoccupied.
Absolutely.
Now, the anxious
Absolutely.
part is something you're very familiar with because you've had that in previous relationships when you've broken up. Okay. And you get clingy and controlling and all these things that you get that you don't want to feel, but the other person makes you feel these things. Anyway, so your conclusion is there for you to see. Okay. Mine's slightly longer, but it doesn't matter. You've got the gist of it there. Okay. Now, this is where the magic happens. We now know your role. We can apply it to the Circology framework, which is the compatibility framework, which is further on in the app. But I'll explain it for you here because ultimately it's a paid section. But it's quite simple, really. You've got a number 7 by your name. Now we're looking for the perfect 10. Now a 7 and a 3 is perfect. Now on the chart of polarity spectrum, which is what the Circology polarity spectrum diagram is later on in the app, you get this. So if you have a look at that, you get that.
Oh wow. Okay. That's cool.
Now, you're 2/3 of the 2/3 of the way up. You're a 7.
Okay.
That suggests that you're controlling. You want to lead a relationship, but you're not a lion tamer. A lion tamer is a 9. They're at the top of the spectrum. So the lion tamer's up here. This is the extreme. The lion tamer's up here, and the lion is down here. They're a 1. Perfect dynamic. Lion tamer and a lion are the perfect relationship for them. For you, you're a 7. You're looking for somebody that is in their feminine.
No, I'd rather have a man in his masculine. I want a man who's stronger than me.
Yes, I get that. But you're in touch with your masculine. And you're able to be in touch with your feminine at the same time. I'm a 7. I'm a ringmaster, but I'm in touch with my masculinity, but I'm also in touch with my femininity. The closer you are to the 5, the center, the green part of that spectrum, the more you're in the masculine feminine balance. The further up, you're more in your masculine. The further down, you're in your feminine. It doesn't mean that you are just effeminate. What it means is you like to lead the relationship. I don't know if you've heard the term topping from the bottom. Have you heard that phrase, topping from the bottom? Topping from the bottom.
Okay.
A child will cry until you pick it up. That's a good example of topping from the bottom. They control you from the bottom.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a power thing, but it is a control thing. I saw someone say aerial something a minute ago.
Yes. So we've got Misty. She put that she's aerial artist.
Misty, did you load the app? Did you load it and see what it said? Because aerial artist is in the middle somewhere. It's looking at my chart. It's somewhere around a 4. Yeah, you've got acrobat and gymnast. The aerial ones are the aerial silks but you're in the middle. What you need is to share a relationship in the sense of you like to share. When you're in the middle, the balance dynamics, share decisions, share leadership. The ringmasters, they like to be more in control. They still share because they like to communicate with their partners. The lion tamer doesn't share. The lion tamer controls completely. And if you were dating a lion tamer, you would be conflicting. It wouldn't work with you because they'd try to control you. So a 7 and a 9, that's a 16. That's way off the zone.
Andrea, you are getting the compliments today. Mickey said he's hot, and I would surely let him master me. All right, let's do it. Anastasia,
well, that's the whole idea. This is meant to be fun. And listen, ladies, look, I'm happily married. And I'm flattered. Most of my clients, listen, I only coach women. So I'm constantly getting or helping women take control of their dating. Okay.
So here's my question then. If I'm God, see, I already
Okay.
forgot.
Let's come back to you because something
I'm
you
the
said that's
master.
interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Let me say
Mhm.
something that's interesting. You actually said you first saw elephant rider, or
Which
you were controlling an elephant, correct?
I looked at that and it's the
Okay.
same kind of.
Important. Okay. Then you said I'd be a tightrope walker, but
Okay.
you changed your mind again. Why did you change your mind?
It felt too far away. It felt too
Okay.
unconnected. No real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So had you picked tightrope walker, now you've got the app. If you pick tightrope walker, theirs is about balance and distance, and they're
Yes.
very aloof. The
That's
act,
not
they're right
me.
up there. No, but it might have been you. You see,
In the
this is where
past, definitely.
exactly when someone picks more than one act,
Mhm.
unconsciously they
Mhm.
are relating to where they were in the past. So the first choice, elephant rider or trainer,
Okay.
is you've always wanted to be in control, but that's elephant trainer is right up the top end. It's an eight, I think.
Yeah,
Eight
it's
and
an
a half.
8, I think. Mhm.
Yeah, I can't remember now. So there's 52 acts or something. I can't remember half half the numbers,
You're doing
but I know
pretty
it's down one
good.
end. But I know it's down one end. Anyway, so you've got all the trainers are at the top end, controlling, leading a relationship. We're not talking about
Mhm.
abuse here. As
Mhm.
much as we don't like animals in circuses, nor do I, it's all about an association.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Most men don't pick lion tamer, by the way, but the ones that do, just like,
Interesting.
and you ask them why, they always say, well, I want to tame the beast. And that kind of gives you an analogy of what they'd like to do with their woman: control
Yeah.
the woman, lead the woman. Now,
Yeah.
if that comes with abuse, like cracking the whip and whatever, then you've got to run. Okay. But if it's kind of, well, and I get quite a few, I want to stroke my cats and I want to love them and nurture them and care for them and make them do tricks and things, then that's a loving
Right.
relationship. Okay. So we're not talking
Okay.
about abuse here. And this is quite fundamental to the whole framework of Circology, because Circology is a bit more than just a fun game here.
Okay.
It identifies the power dynamics in a relationship, which is
Hmm.
what we're talking about. Who wants to lead and who wants to be led? Consenting led.
Well, then what do I need if I am needing somebody to be
Right.
quite a bit like me, but more
Yes.
so?
Okay.
How do we
So
determine that?
this is what I see from this. And
Okay.
often what people want isn't exactly what they need. And it's my job to teach people, when someone says, I want that, I say to them, okay, you
Okay.
want that, I'll give you that. And I actually give them what they need, or I demonstrate what they
Okay.
need. So in your
Okay.
case, when you chose elephant rider,
Mhm.
that was over controlling. Didn't
Mhm.
work for you.
I
Hard.
backpedaled a little. Mhm.
Yeah. When you then went tightrope walker, you revealed that you compromised a bit and you decided to be a bit more balanced. Didn't work for you. You were a bit aloof. Again, didn't work. I can't go into your past history. Where you
Mhm.
are now, when a person picks more than one act, what they're saying is, this is where I was, and this is where I'm going to or am now.
Hmm.
So the ring mistress is where you are now. And if we were drawing a line under all your past relationships, because I'm not a trauma, I don't deal with trauma and past whatever. I suggest people to go to someone I can,
To
help
deal with
with.
that before we
Yeah.
get to here. Mhm.
All I care about is moving forward. So
Okay.
I help people identify meaningful relationships by learning who they are, learning
Love it.
what's right for them, and then
Okay.
testing the water.
I love it.
Now, I know you want someone stronger than you. This is not, it doesn't suggest that you need a lion tamer. What we are saying here is you need to be in control of your relationship, but you need a supportive man who is going to ground you and support you in your quest for life. And to thrive
Mhm.
together, you
Mhm.
need that support. And being a
Mhm.
7, you could actually, a ringmaster can date anybody. That's the perfect thing about a ringmaster. They introduce all the acts. So they have to be diplomatic, charismatic. They have to be they have to sort out the egos from the, you can imagine in a circus, you've got the lion tamer. I want to go last because I'm the star of the show. No, you're going this position, and because I'm the boss, so you take over. So the truth is, you need somebody that grounds you, but you need somebody that supports you, and you are the star of the relationship. That's the bottom line. So if I got into it deeper, I would be able to convince you, give it a go, find people that are around the 3, because look, if you find a number that's much higher than a 10 when you add it to a 7, you'll be overwhelmed. They will try and control you. You certainly don't want another ringmaster. You'll be competing for control. As much as you can relate to me and I can relate to you, I can read you like a book, because we're from the same cloth, if you know what I mean. You relate. At work, we'd get on great. As buddies, we'd get on great. But as a relationship, I would fight you for it.
The thing about it, though, is that it's really bizarre, because I don't want to control the relationship. For me, the control is more about my own self. I have to be in control of what's happening right here.
Yes.
I like somebody else to be in control of what's around me, and then I
Okay.
control my own. I don't want somebody else controlling me. Does that make
That
sense?
that control we're talking about is actually support. That's how I see it. Because a 3, the lower down the spectrum, from say 3, 4 outwards, those are supportive. Audience is in there. What do the audience do? Audience, audience are 1.5. I get loads of people that say audience, and I said, why?
Really?
And they said, well, I don't want to be an act. I just want to support. Hello, support is exactly what we're doing.
Support. I see that.
And support is the person that rallies around you and provides everything that you need to be the star. And that's the control that you need within your environment.
Interesting.
It's something maybe you need to look at and try. It doesn't mean, by the way, being lower down the spectrum does not mean weak.
Okay. Yes, because I do see this. I'm looking at audience member. It says 1 to 5 or 1.5. And it says positive, observant, love it, engaged, love it, appreciative, patient, adaptable, empathetic. I love all those things. The negative traits, I can see where in a negative or the wrong relationship between me and somebody that these would come out, because these are the traits that I see myself running over. And that's the passive, overdependent, insecure, detached, compliant. I hate that. So
they
for
become
me,
very whining
I
and
do
very, that kind of character, when they're in the wrong dynamic, become very weak. And I've been weak in the sense of feeble and clingy, and and you don't want that. You want somebody who's going to support you in a strong way. And that strength that you require doesn't necessarily mean overbearing. Okay. Because excuse me, if you find somebody that's going to control you, you will run. And I think if you've got communication with your exes, which I had with 2 of my main exes,
with kids,
I
I
asked
do.
them the question and immediately identified what was wrong in our relationship, because they were wonderful women. Listen, no one cheated, no one got abusive, no one really, we were amicably broke up. So I was able to go back to both of them and say, right, what would you, ask the full question. By the way, don't just ask a direct question. If you're asking this to someone else, it's in the app, there's a vocal thing without any images. We don't want to create any images. The only image is in the verbal, because if you start suggesting things to people, oh, go on, what would you pick? Clown? You're actually ruining the whole point of neuro-linguistic programming is not to suggest. We're only suggesting, an embedded command in the question is just imagine.
I see what you're saying.
So there is a technical part to this, and it's been tried and tested, and it really works in a crazy, fun way. It works that well that when you're asking, especially if you're a woman, you're asking a man, the first thing the man says is the truth. because he thinks, well, why would I make anything up? There's no point. And if you're being realistic, if you're looking for a relationship, you need to be honest. Okay. And the only way you're going to find that relationship that you deserve and that you want a meaningful connection with is to actually identify who you are and then find your ideal partner. Now, within the zone, by the way, there is a zone, zone of 10. If you're up or down slightly, that's fine because you're in that zone in the spectrum. Okay. So if you meet a 2 or a 1.5 or a 5, you're still kind of there. My wife is a 4, so we're 11. She's a contortionist. She chose 2. Aerial trapeze, contortionist. They're both in the same zone.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
I had one today. The lady came back to me. She's actually a matchmaker. She said to me, I would be, the first thing that came into her mind was fortune teller. And then she said, I thought about it, actually ringmaster or ringmistress. And I said, look, it was after the question, which doesn't matter, but interesting, they're both in exactly the same zone. They're both 7s. So that's kind of true. Yeah. But in yours, your elephant trainer is extreme. Your tightrope walker is 6.5. And now you've settled on a 7, which is kind of a dynamic, which is doable. It's balanced, but it's also controlling. So you very much want to share your relationship with your partner. You want to talk to them and make decisions together, but you want to be in control of your own shit.
I'm not, there we go, fortune teller. Interesting. It's also a 7. Because if I really thought I can't be a ringleader, a fortune teller would have been.
Well, you'll see the zone is the same.
The zone is the same.
And I haven't looked, but probably some of the traits will be similar. Maybe not as diplomatic, although they can be, I suppose. But in respect of charm and being able to communicate, definitely there.
Okay, because I'm a fortune teller in my life.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You didn't pick that, by the way.
I didn't even think about it until I started looking at the list.
The unconscious selection. The question works in 2 ways. The first part is conscious location. We build a picture in your mind of where you are. Okay, it's a bit tacky, lights, sounds, whatever. And then I ask you what you would, I ask you unconsciously, imagine what you would be. Now, your mind doesn't go to what you can do. If you ride horses, it doesn't necessarily go to where you ride horses. Because you just said, I am a fortune teller. Why didn't you pick that?
I don't know. I didn't think about it.
It doesn't matter because it's still there and it's still in that zone. Because remember, I created it. I actually thought to myself, what would I be? I didn't have someone ask me, and I consciously chose ringmaster because those traits suit me down to the ground. Okay. I can be a bit of a perfectionist. I can be an arsehole sometimes. I can own it. But at the end of the day, I want to be in control of my relationship. And we all need to have what we want and need. And the need is the more important part here. Because if I'm in a relationship with a woman, and I have been, who is quite abusive, to me, love isn't enough.
Right.
And that's when you start hating someone because they start trying to control you. And when I broke up with her, it wasn't one of my long-term relationships, but I looked at it and I thought, blimey, she was trying to control me. And that's why I rebelled, because I can't have someone control me. And it was the 80s, and I was trying to be this emancipated man that shared and didn't open doors for women, wasn't a gentleman, split the bill, all that sort of crap, which it was alien to me. I'm a gentleman. I'm sorry, I'm old school. And that's part of the problem with society now, because masculinity is gone. Yeah, it's really gone. Kids are confused.
Right.
And I'm not pro it for everybody. And I'm not pro emancipation for every man. Everything is perfect for everybody. If you pick lion, it would be perfect for you. I get loads of lions, by the way.
Right.
There's no one. When people say they always ask me, can you give me a stat? And I say, well, look, the only stat I'm going to give you is what you just chose. because it's irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. You can ask me, what's the most popular choice? Well, out of thousands, probably over 10,000 in 15 years, I would say the one you picked. That's it. The one you picked, not Ringmaster, by the way, but the one you picked is the most important. You know, it's like saying, how many people are on Tinder?
Right.
Is it relevant to you?
Because not everybody's right for them.
No,
right.
Exactly. You're only looking for one.
Right.
So if you said to me how many people are on Tinder, because if it's a lot of people, then I'll go on there and date. I'll say, but even if there was 10, the possibility is you'll find the one you're looking for.
Right.
So the stats don't add up. I don't care about the stats. All I care about is results. And results is what you get when you build a foundation, because that's what Circology is. Circology is a compatibility framework to build a foundation of meaningful relationships. And it's the dynamics that we're building on. Everything else is what you decide, your values. Yeah. Whether you've got lifestyle choices that are the same, whether you want to have kids or not have kids, all these things are on top. You pile them on top of the foundation. The foundation is the dynamic that appears later on in the relationship that fails.
Okay.
That's what I've decided. I've thought about it. I've dated these fantastic, wonderful women that are great for someone else. At the beginning, that new relationship energy, NRE we call it, was amazing. We've all gone through that infatuation, that chemistry, that spark. But I've always dated hot women because they're hot, and then tried to make them fit into my lifestyle.
We're so alike.
Square peg into round hole. But they're a ringmaster.
Right.
Ring mistress, you know, whether we sexualize it or not, you're a ringmaster. Okay.
Yeah.
You control, you even take your partner, you try to make them the best perfect version of themselves, because that's what we do. We encourage the act encourages people to be their best performer.
Okay.
So that's what you're skilled in.
So
it doesn't necessarily follow that you want to do that with people that don't fit your profile.
I see. So how do you determine what fits your profile? So like, let's use Mickey as example. Mickey is stilt walker. And that's a 6.
That's a 6.
So well, how do we determine what works and what doesn't based on these kind of numbers?
That's why I developed the numbers. And if you're into numerology, the perfect 10, the 6, Mickey's looking for a 4. Or in the zone of the 4, 5, 3, 3.5, that area. Now, if you look at those acts in that area, and I'll tell you, I've got my chart here, he's still, excuse me, stilt walker. So he's a balanced act.
Okay.
Balance meaning that he wants to share his relationship control. Excuse me. I better take some water, actually.
So Mickey, let's see. She says,
"Oh, Mickey is a girl." Okay.
Oh, yeah. So a 6. So what you're trying to do is saying you're going to try to get to closest to 10 as possible.
Yeah, within that zone. So if you're an 11, if you're 6 plus 1 or 6 plus 2, you're an 8. It doesn't matter. You're close to it because that zone is in your area of control and balance. So you're finding somebody that actually complements you, right? That dreaded term, complements. 10 is the perfect, okay? The reason I gave it numbers, because when I was coaching, you can imagine, you've just asked me, say, 10 questions. I'd get clients come back to me. I'm on a date and I've met a clown. They'd leave it until they've gone on the dinner date.
Clown is high. I haven't looked at clown, but I can imagine that clown is high.
That didn't exist then. So they would actually call me from the restaurant in the ladies' room, and they'd go, "Oh my God, I've met a clown. What do I do?" And I said, "Okay, hang on a minute. Your trapeze solo, run." And they go, "Why?" And I say, "Well, look," and I explained it. It wasn't numbers then. It was just the dynamic. He wants to control you, and clowns wear a mask.
Right. And
they wear a face to the world. They're not bad people, but they wear one to you, 1 to me, 1 to whatever. When they take that off, when they go home, they wear a
Mhm.
different mask. And
Mhm.
that mask often is two faces. Geminis make great clowns, by the way. I've had every clown that I've said, "What's your birth sign?" They said Gemini. And I've gone, "Oh my God."
Of course.
And you say, "Of course." And that doesn't mean they're all Geminis, but
Right. Because every Gemini is different.
yes, of course.
Everybody's got their own like subtle things about them. But in general, people with astrology are about the same.
Yeah, and look, Circology is in a way a compatibility framework similar to synastry, which is matching of the astrology, yeah, of the stars and star signs. In a way, it's a modern version and a fun version. So instead of saying Pisces meets Leo and they make babies and whatever and follow your charts and whatever, this is a different version of that. But
Okay. I like it though.
a bit
It's
of fun.
fun.
But the important thing with Mickey here is we're looking for a 4. Now, a solo trapeze, aerial silk, flying trapeze jumper, hula hoop crew member, a musician, all of those acts are kind of perfect. Again,
Okay.
they're a little bit more supportive, but what they are, they're balanced.
Gotcha.
Even somebody similar to her, 6 and a 6 to 12, is really not off the chart.
It's good. Okay.
It's not bad. I can't. Look, it starts to get from green flag to amber flag to yellow flag to red. Okay, so it starts to go off the charts. The further away from 10 or either direction, you start seeing red flags. So I'm not. I've had clients say to me, "Okay, look, I'm going to date this lion tamer. I know I shouldn't, but he's cute. I'm going to go on a date with him." So I say, "Okay, be my guinea pig." And they go off to the restaurant, and of course, I get that text. "Are you free?" "Yeah, I'm free." And they'll text me and they call me and they go, "You were right. He's got the fucking menu and he's telling me what I'm going to eat. He's telling me what wine I'm going to drink. I like white, but he's going to make me drink red." He's actually been nasty to the service staff.
See, I
don't like this. And I said, "Listen, I told you this, but see it for yourself. Once you know this shit, things start to evolve. And if you ask your friends and family and you hear what their answer is, all of a sudden you see them in a different light."
I can actually see that.
Is Rebel around?
Rebel?
What's Rebel's gone quiet?
Rebel, is that you saying you're the ringmaster, or was that somebody else?
That was me. I did pick ringmaster. That was my first thing. I loved the movie The Greatest Showman. And
Okay.
that was the one thing that I would definitely be, the ringmaster.
You went straight in for it. So you like organization, being in control, getting that. Well, you're the producer, engineer. You help us get the best out of us, correct?
I like to make sure everybody's happy and everybody's getting the best of everything that they can.
That's exactly what your role is.
Yep.
The ringmaster. Usually, the ringmaster is a retired act in the show. The ringmaster is a retired act who then starts to help everybody else be the best they can be. Yeah. So I've had many careers. Architecture, clubs, DJing, radio DJ. I've done all these different things, and that's created this kind of persona that's helped me get to where I am now. And I'm kind of now the ringmaster, and I'm kind of like, I can sympathize with him, her, and I can get the best out of people because I can relate to everybody. Right. And I could actually date a lion tamer if I wanted to, but I'll probably fight her to death for control. But, and actually a lion would be too weak for me. As much as they're strong in their own way, I want a bit more from that person. And if you look at all the traits, you'll see and identify what you need. So when you look at the ones that match with you, Christine, within that zone, especially, the balanced acts, and they'll give you something that you need.
I see that. And I can kind of see where the name of the act or the job, so to speak, kind of lends towards their personality trait. I can see
that's where it comes from. Well, I'll give you the most balanced one. The flying trapeze, the two that swing into each other. And the
Oh.
man and the woman,
Uh-huh.
he's the catcher and she's the jumper, the flyer, and he's the
Yeah.
anchor. We call it the anchor. And they swing in perfect harmony. They're a 4.5 and a 5.5. They're slightly off because he is the strength of the relationship that catches her, and she relies on that. When she lets go, he's the timing. He's the person that controls just the timing and the strength when she needs him. They're both in perfect harmony. So for that act to work,
Cool.
they both need to be perfectly timed together. So
Mm.
that's the most balanced dynamic together. Of course, in the middle, you've got the acrobats and the gymnasts who work as a team, and if one fails, the other falls over.
Right.
You mentioned tightrope walker. The tightrope walkers are the most balanced, bloody-minded act. They tend to be focused on career, direction. They look straight ahead, and they might be focused on, scientists, doctors, accountants. They're completely blinkered about their direction. They're black and white. They're not gray.
You know what's funny is that my life right now is really it's really a balance between the ringmaster and the tightrope, because right now I'm seriously focused on my career, like massively.
Okay. Well, you've identified that. There you go. When people make more than one choice, and I didn't elaborate on this, the first one is where you were or are, and the second one or third is where you're going or you have arrived. So you're still evolving. From what you've just said, you're still tightrope walker, which is a 6, is it not?
I think it's a 6.
6.5. 6.5. I had to split these up a bit more because I couldn't get them on the diagram. I couldn't get into like the 6 and 7, and as I added more, I just couldn't get them on there. So I just made them 6.5 and 7. So the zoning is important. It's not the exact number. So we say perfect 10. Well, I go to parties and the host pulls me over and says, "Andrea, come here." I said, "What?" And I said, "See this couple here? Ask them the question." And I'm like, "No, man, you're going to create a divorce." And he's like, "No, they're happily married. I need to know if this works." And I said, "Okay, I'm really sorry. I'm going to ask you the question, but if this doesn't work, please don't go home and fight about it." Yeah. And I asked them the question, and they both fire their answer at the same time. And I'll get lion tamer. Perfect.
Oh my God.
And I'll get elephant trainer, monkey trainer. And the trapeze flyer and catcher, and now and again I'll get one person say bearded lady.
Yeah, that's a high one. Isn't that like 8.5?
Whoa! And all the traits there are important here. Bearded lady is completely unique, and they often used to be the star of the show because they were the freaks. But if you think about the analogy, bearded lady is someone who, and in the film, The Greatest Showman, it's highlighted that she's insecure.
Exactly.
It's highlighted that she, not damaged isn't the right word, but they're kind of undateable.
Misunderstood,
but they're undateable. They feel undateable. They feel lonely, and they're singular, and they control their dynamic. That's the thing. They control their dynamic, their shit. And they need to be in control. If they're dating someone, they need someone who supports them. Hence, they're high up in the list because they need someone like the audience, which is their perfect match, who's going to make them the star that they need to be. They don't want someone who's controlling them, telling them they're ugly and they need to lose weight. Right. And they've got a beard. By the way, quite a few men have answered bearded lady.
Interesting.
Yeah, that scares the shit out of me because I asked this guy once, obviously no names, but he's a huge guy, and I think huge, big beard, and he's in the legal profession. I won't go any further than that. And he's very, very good at what he does. And he goes to court. Let's leave it. He goes to court and he talks to everybody in court, that kind of figure. Yeah. And he wins cases. And I asked him, because I was at this do, and he came in front of me, and the host said, "Go on, ask so and so." And I asked him, and he said, "Bearded lady." And I went, "Oh my God." Oh my God. How do I tell you this? How do I say to you, mate, look, really
That's
insecure.
funny. Oh my
You're
gosh.
really insecure.
Probably was.
And you really, in relationships, you really struggle with relationships because you don't feel you deserve a relationship because
Wow.
of your size, because of the way you are. And he was loud. But you know what? You deserve a relationship and you deserve the person who's perfect for you. And this is who's perfect for you. And
Nice.
I told him, the audience, and he was like, and I told him why. He started crying.
Aw.
His eyes were watering. He said, "You've got me down to a T, man."
I love that. I love that. I'm
And
so
there's
sorry.
loads of stories like this. I mean, guys will pick the trapeze flyer. You know, the one that lets go and gets caught?
Mm-hmm.
This friend of mine that he's a very masculine guy, does all this Ironman stuff, marathons and all this stuff. When I asked him, he said, I saw myself in a sparkly leotard, jumping, being caught. And he just laughed. I said, "What are you laughing at?" And he goes, "Well, I was wearing a sparkly leotard. Isn't that what women do?" And I said, "Well, you're not effeminate." He said, "No, but what the fuck's going on in my brain?" And I said, "Okay." And I explained it to him. And I know his wife. And I said to him, "Well, your wife wears the trousers." That's how I explained it.
That's why.
And he said, "You're spot on."
I love
But
that.
he loves the fact that his wife wears the trousers. She makes decisions, but they share.
Right.
See?
I love it.
So once you're in your perfect dynamic,
So
you can grow from
Andre,
there.
I am so sorry. We actually are quite a bit over. We actually are having Andrea back. When are we having you back?
On the 17th. I'm away on
the
holiday
17th.
next week. Yeah.
Okay. So Andrea's coming back. We're going to talk more about this. We're going to expand on it more, and we're going to do some follow-up. So all of the listeners who are listening, go check out this this link that we're talking about. Check it out. Come back, ask questions, and we're going to go through it again. I am
Works
so
on your
sorry
laptop
to
too.
rush. Yeah, it works on your laptop. So I'm so sorry we have to rush so fast, but Rebel has to go to another show. So wanted to say thank you for being here. I will see you again in 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, whatever that is.
2 weeks, yeah.
And everybody come back next week. We're having another great show, same time, same place. Hold on tight, Andrea. I'll talk to you after the show. And until we get there next week, keep this shit real, folks. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.